Now, I think it's fair to say the government have somewhat lost control of what should have been their extremism week.
Really? You don't say. Well, we're going to get to Nadine Dorries in a second, but first let's let Andrew Marr set the scene.
Well, in response to terrible polling and the defection of Lee Anderson to Reform UK, number 10 let it be known that Boris Johnson is going to come back to help campaign in the red wall seats at the general election. Which is interesting. I didn't know that Mr Sunak and Mr Johnson were besties again. To find out more, I'm joined by that close Johnson ally, Nadine Dorries. Nadine, good to see you there. Do you really believe that Boris Johnson is going to link arms with Rishi Sunak and get him out of this hole?
So look, Boris Johnson has conservatism running through his veins. Of course, he would want to help any MP or any candidate in a seat where they felt he could benefit.
That is a Freudian slip, if ever I heard one.
And benefit them in winning that seat. But, you know, Rishi Sunak is actually riding on the coattails of 10 years of Boris Johnson's work. It was Boris Johnson who won the majority that Rishi Sunak is sitting in number 10, actually losing on a daily basis.
She's so delusional. She can't see that the rot set in through all the scandals and Partygate and... Oh, yeah. She thinks that was all a plot to oust Boris.
And the idea that Boris Johnson could just go and crush around constituencies campaigning for MPs, I would imagine that Boris Johnson would want to campaign and to help the Conservative Party.
No, he wouldn't. He only ever does something if it benefits him.
We're in a very dangerous position at the moment where we were polling 18 points at the weekend, where Reform are consistently polling 12 points. If we drop much further and we become neck and neck with Reform, then that's wipeout for the Conservative. We're not talking about, only 150 MPs coming back. We're talking about virtually wipeout of the Conservative Party.
Yay! Brilliant!
But for it to happen, Boris Johnson is the former Prime Minister. He isn't, a former mayor or a former MP, or he's the former Prime Minister who won the majority that Rishi Sunak, who nobody voted for.
Yeah. I'm sorry to jump in, but there would have to be some kind of concordat between the two men. I was just, call me sort of suspicious and mean-minded hack, but I was just slightly suspicious about the fact that all this came out the day after Lee Anderson had defected to Reform UK. And I wondered if it was a bit of spin, and I wonder whether there is really an agreement between Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak about the things that you mentioned, and you're shaking your head.
Well, your hack's nose was absolutely, 100% bang on, as it always is.
Click here for the toxic idea that they want Boris back.